Video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is benevolence for all. I'm obviously doing this video while I drive, so I won't be looking at the camera quite as much, but I just wanted to give an energy update. First of all, I get a lot of downloads and activations when I drive. I used to do a lot of videos in my car, and I just kind of pulled some of them out because a lot of them are irrelevant for now and the energies that we're going through and the shifts that we're going through now. So you'll hear me in the car talking a lot about synchronicity and things like that. This particular video is just to share, wow, how about these energies the last few days? I feel like lately I've been saying that a lot, and it's because that is what I'm feeling. Yesterday, I don't take naps. I don't really lay down during the day. I just like to go to bed and sleep at night, and that's it. And yesterday, I was going along, just chugging along just great. And about 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, felt like I got hit by a Mack truck. It literally felt like I needed to lay down, or I would fall asleep right where I was standing or sitting. I do believe yesterday we had some sort of, and I knew in that moment it was either some sort of Schumann influx or some sort of solar download, or it might have been both. We've been having quite a bit of activity, it felt like yesterday, from both ends of the spectrum. So I wanted to share that definitely was felt on my end. Everybody experiences these things differently. Back in the day, when I was first experiencing these types of events, sometimes I would start to go into fear over it. And I do want to touch briefly on that. We're being invited to check our thoughts. I find there's these little thoughts that come up and they're patterns, and they're really not as often as they used to be, but they'll be just little random thoughts, and I call them implanted thoughts, whether it be from old habit patterns or old belief systems or television or conversations with other people. And they're usually like little fearful things. Anything that might bring up issues of safety to share in that regard. Like, I better lock my car so nobody breaks in. Oh, I better not do this because I don't want those kinds of safety things. And I think we're being invited to let go of a lot of our fears, saying hello to my bubbies, of that we have, that's maybe insecurities or things that just aren't things for us to worry about anymore. No, we certainly don't want to leave our keys parked in our car with our car running, the doors open and the windows down. No. But for us to be thinking in fearful little thoughts because of who knows what, we are being invited to recognize those. Things like, I better not do this because I don't want this person to be mad at me. Things like, I better not, you get where I'm going with this. So that was coming up a little bit yesterday, and I could see that kind of a general message in the collective. The other thing that was coming through was drink a lot of water, take care of your body, recognize what you need to do. If you need to sleep, sleep. If you need to take a nap, take a nap. So I laid down and I felt much better afterwards. Also, when these things happen, and we've been going through a lot of shifts constantly, we're constantly going through these shifts. And what happens is we tend to be more tired. So it's a good time to check in, and because that is when we tend to make mistakes, or we tend to miss opportunities. I talked about this a few videos ago, we fall down the stairs more often and we don't recognize why. All week long I've been seeing crazy driving. I'm talking on the phone right now with you guys, but I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. Other people are not. It's kind of crazy what I see, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too. Not only that, but misplacing things, walking into rooms and not knowing why you're there. That's happened to me a couple of weeks. We really are being invited to slow down, be present, and recognize, what are we doing right now? And if that means we're driving our car, all right, let's just say I'm going to pay attention right now, a little bit more so than I would usually pay attention. When we're talking on the phone, we're not doing 20 other things while we're talking on the phone, and then we forget what the person talking to us was even talking about. Because we are going to have more moments of forgetfulness sometimes. I feel like we're shifting in and out of realities. So it's like we went from one reality to another reality almost instantaneously. And that can bring feelings of, where am I? What just happened? And the more we're aware that that's what's going on, the less we get lost in it. Does that make sense? So breathe. Say, I am in my body. I am recognizing that I'm falling into forgetfulness. I now clear forgetfulness from my programming. Whatever works for you, mantras can help bring a little order back into our chaos. I've been seeing people literally just losing their stuff, we'll say. And we're being invited to, I have a tendency to say, isn't that interesting? So then I recognize, all right, something's happening. Let's kind of hold space for them. So I've been invited quite a few times not to react, not to get sucked into their craziness and make it my own. And when I'm having a crazy moment, recognizing that, and then I can come back into getting centered. And whether that be through drinking water, what I've talked about a million times before. A million might be a little over the top, but you get where I'm going with this. Drink water, etc., etc., etc. Go outside. I had to lay down outside. That's what I like to do when I'm feeling like this. I like to lay on the grass and literally ground. Connect my energy with the earth. I like to really I like to take an Epsom salt bath or something along those lines to just get me back into the space of feeling centered, right? And not feeling sucked into a vortex of activations, confusion, downloads. What am I supposed to be doing right now? Why is everything all chaotic? Sometimes it's just the way things are when we're going through these adjustments and these shifts in our body and our realities. And it's just, how well can we ride the ride? Let's just play and enjoy it a little bit. And we're being invited not to get into judgment as much about what we're seeing, what we're feeling. Just, isn't that interesting? Okay, I see that I just forgot 3 things in a row. That's a sign for me to get centered and recognize that if I keep on this track, there might be something bigger that I forget, right? There might be something bigger that I run into. I've stubbed my toe twice now. I've whatever it might be. Also, not jumping to conclusions. I've been forgetting things so often. I better go get checked out. I probably am having early stages of whatever. Those are kind of the old things we all used to do. We used to all run to the doctor. Guys, our bodies are changing. Our lives are changing. There are going to be some growing pains sometimes associated with this. And recognize that, it's okay. Just come from a place of non-judgment. We don't have to label it. We don't have to label it as fill in the blanks. I hear a lot of people blaming things on pausing right now. I hear a lot of people blaming things on getting older, menopause. I hear people blaming things on, it used to be, I would blame it on, it's just me. Well, no, is it just me? Why do I want to label myself as a forgetful person? In fact, recently I found myself saying, I now clear all programs of being forgetful from my reality. And so it is. I mean, it's just in that moment, me recognizing that I just gave myself that label, or someone else had given me that label and I was buying into it, because we all have those moments from time to time. Mine tend to be less and less the more centered I get, the less centered I am, the more forgetful I am. And then when I recognize that is a pattern, a looping pattern that's happening, and I actually bring my awareness to that, it kind of breaks the pattern. I know there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. Oh, so fun. In love and light, you guys. Have fun with all of these energies. It's not just about the chaos and the forgetfulness. Once it passed, for me yesterday, it was really only about an hour that I felt really, and a little bit of a headache came on as well. And as soon as that passed, I just sat and wrote down things, wrote down ideas, and I really just allowed myself to be in the flow with it, because it used to be 3 or 4 years ago, I fought it. I would start to panic. I would start to be worried that something was wrong with me. Plus, I've done so much work that when these symptoms come on, or when these events happen, or when shifts happen, I'm not as triggered. I'm not as, I guess triggered is the right word for it. I don't go into fear for very long. I'll recognize I just had a really silly thought that I better lock my car because I don't want anybody to break into it. I don't even need to think that way. Not that I don't want to lock my car, but it's just little things. I'm using that as an example. And I thought, how many times a day do I have these little thoughts that aren't serving me? So that was almost like an aha that came from having that crazy little thought, right? So once I recognized who's doing the thinking right now, who's controlling these thoughts, and I pulled it back into, well, I cancel that program, it really was like really cool, really clearing. And I try to do that whenever I am aware of that's what's going on, these little looping programs that still come up from time to time. And after I let that all clear, I had the opportunity to then go back into observation, realizing these were the thoughts I was having. Wasn't that interesting? What did this mean? And then I was able also to pull from that other pictures and concepts that had flashed through my mind that I wasn't picking up on while I was going through the chaos, I call it. And then when I slowed down, let it all integrate, I thought, I forgot about that. Kundalini, lots of things going on with Kundalini activations. I happened to see a snake yesterday, as well as my dog decided to go outside and do his business next to something. I looked down and it was a snake skin, and it looked really cool. I took a picture of it. I'll be sharing it on Instagram at Keep It Simple Starseeds. But it just, for me, I look at my environment, my universe. It's always talking with me. It's always giving me symbols and suggestions and synchronicities if I'm open to it. And I recognize it's not a coincidence that a snake slides into a place that I'm teaching yoga and getting ready to do an energy work session, and everybody's like, oh my goodness, it's a snake, a snake, a snake. And then the next day I see a snake skin, and wouldn't surprise me if something else snake-like comes into my awareness in the next 24 hours, because I see it as a common thread. Just like if I have a session with somebody or a conversation with somebody, or I'm driving in my car and I have the same idea or concept come up a few times, I start to recognize that, okay, this isn't a coincidence if this keeps showing up for me. So we're being invited to recognize those coincidences, those synchronicities, and it's interesting that I've seen this person, or I've seen this thing that reminds me of this person or this period of time in my life that is now triggering certain feelings that I used to feel when I was going through this age, this stage of my life, this relationship, filling in the blanks. So I brought up in session with this beautiful light worker the other day about shampoo, and how if we use, I don't know about you guys, but have you guys ever used a particular shampoo in high school? Especially if you're a female and you've got long hair, right? Guys may not remember this. Maybe you guys wore cologne in high school. Who knows? But I used to love like Pantene, right? Or what's the other one? I don't even know if they still make it, Finesse, or these shampoos, and all of a sudden I'll smell that and it takes me right back to a memory. Or more importantly, it's not just the memory, it's how I felt at that period of time in my life. It's a mapping system. So I see that as an opportunity. When that happens, and I'll use that as an example, and someone pops into my awareness that I haven't thought about in a while, and I still feel a certain emotion associated with that person, place, or thing. It could be a place, it could be, oh, I remember that I didn't get elected or I didn't get accepted onto the team, and I was wearing this particular, I'm using this as an example, it's our memory mapping system. In that moment, that little thing that comes up is an opportunity for me to go, wow, all right, I clear fear around or associated with relationships, or I cleared the feeling of unworthiness associated with the basketball team, whatever it might be. I'm just using this all as an example. Or not being good enough. I clear that from my field. I clear all cords and energies and frequencies connected with non-acceptance, not being accepted by my peers. Now, boom. It's very empowering for these to be said out loud. It's not the old way of just of saying, I now attract to me. It's like being aware in that moment that you're thinking about something. You're taking your power back, and you're not allowing your thoughts to take power over us, right? Or to take power away from us. Or we're calling back our energy. We're calling back our power. And in that moment, it can be very freeing, liberating. So for In Love and Light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. Namaste.